Welcome to Shelf Life, the monthly series where I look back at games I covered previously on the channel and let you know if they're still in my collection. For this episode, I'm looking back at games I covered in October of 2020, and there are a lot of them, especially Kickstarters. I did so many in that month. So let's get right to it and see whether these games had shelf life, but don't forget to hang on until the end to see the winner of the contest. First, I'm looking back at The Few and the Cursed, a solo, competitive, and cooperative deck builder of adventure in a weird, twisted version of the Old West. And I'm going to try to keep things quick and punchy in this video because there are so many games, and no, I didn't keep this one. As I said in my review, the solo and co-op felt totally tacked on, left out tons of mechanics that I think would make competitive good, although I've heard competitive can be swingy and kind of unbalanced as well. So this is not one I recommend at all for solo and co-op unless you're willing to house rule a ton. For competitive, maybe, but not for the others. Next is Frostpunk, the solo and cooperative game of morality and survival in a harsh frozen wasteland. And yes, I definitely went in for Frostpunk. This was my number 5 Kickstarter that I covered last year. I found this like a better version of Robinson Crusoe, at least for me. I love the moral decisions, the variety in the events that come out, and how challenging building up and surviving can be. Now, I will say that the game might be too difficult. We'll see if that is the case. And I'm also not sure about the variety in scenarios. Hopefully it's good enough, but from what I'm played, I'm very excited about this one. Next is Dark Souls the board game. Based on the famous video game, this is a solo and cooperative combat adventure game. And nope, I'm sure you're all surprised, but this is gone, long gone. Man, what a mess of a game. So much house ruling to make it not a complete and utter slog. The boss battles are cool, there are fun mechanics I hope they reuse, but I don't want to play this one at all. Next is Star Trek Frontiers, the re-theme of Mage Knight for solo, cooperative, and competitive play in the Star Trek universe. And this is another one that's gone. It is a solid game, and I actually went back and forth on which version of the game I preferred, and I think I ended up on the Mage Knight side. But I think you can't go wrong with either game, but for me, it's a little bit longer and a little bit more brain-burny than I generally want to play, so I didn't keep it. Next is FAZA, F-A-Z-A, the solo and cooperative game of defending an alien invasion. And this is another one that's gone. I thought it was fun. I definitely like the action mechanic and it's good for casual play, but I didn't think the variety was enough for me to want to keep it, although I still recommend it, especially for, like I said, family play or casual play for others. Next are the graphic novel adventure books from Van Ryder, specifically the 3rd season, which I covered. These ended up like a lot of games previously on Shelf Life, in that once I had played through them, there wasn't a lot to come back to. So I passed them on to a friend, but I'd still be happy to check out later books in the series, because I tend to enjoy a lot of them. Next, following up on the Survivor theme from Frostpunk, we have Robinson Crusoe. And unlike Frostpunk, I did get rid of this one, mainly because of the action dice system. I just despise it. I hate it. Now, it's entirely possible that Frostpunk won't end up having the legs or the variety of Robinson Crusoe, and then I guess I won't own either of them, but for now, I'm looking forward to the snow. Back to Kickstarters, next is Townsfolk Tussle, a boss battler. And of this list, this is definitely the one I went back and forth on the most. I almost pledged it, but ended up not, mainly because with games like Primal and Oathsworn, I think I'm going to be good for boss battlers, and while Townsfolk Tussle is much lighter than those, I also have some concerns about balance and player count, so I'm not entirely sure how it'll end up. And then we have another Kickstarter, the Librarians adventure card game. And it's funny, I did go on this one even though I didn't do Townsfolk Tussle, even though I rated Townsfolk Tussle number 7 on my Kickstarter list and Librarians number 9, but that's partially because I've talked a good bit to the designer of the Librarians, and he's a great guy and I wanted to support him, and also it has a lot of the kind of blood in it of the Fantasy Flight cooperative LCGs, which I really enjoy, so I'm looking forward to how much variety is in this game and trying out the different scenarios. Next is the final non-Kickstarter game on the list, Chronicles of Crime 1400. And this I'll keep quick. This is, in my opinion, the best version of Chronicles of Crime. Definitely check it out, but once I beat it, nothing else to play, had to pass it on, that's it. Next is Endless Winter, another Kickstarter. Oh my gosh, so many Kickstarters. This one was a Euro competitive and solo game set in the Paleolithic era. And this one I definitely did not back, and I know it made like $1 or $2 million, was super popular, but the game overall felt a little bit too bloated for me, like they had too many mechanics going in at once, so I didn't feel the need to play it anymore. And finally, the last game, one more Kickstarter, is Dire Alliance, partially based on the Undaunted game system. This is a tactical skirmish horror game with competitive and cooperative play. And heck yes, I backed this one. I even spent extra money on miniatures, and I usually don't like miniatures, but I love Undaunted. I really like the way they've changed it for this new system. I think the competitive and cooperative play are both great, so it's a ton of great value, and I fully intend to design a solo variant like I did for Undaunted for the competitive mode of this game, so I can play it as often as I want, whenever I want. I'm really excited about this one. And hey, we made it! That was a lot of games. But thank you so much for watching, and wow, you might have noticed this might be the first episode where I did not keep a single game from my collection. All of the yeses from the list were incoming Kickstarters, so a bit of a rough month. But thanks for watching, we'll see you next time, and don't forget to hang on if you want to hear the winner of a free game from my collection in the contest. Until then though, good gaming, and I'll see you at the next stop. And here we go with the contest, but before we get to the winner, first let's look at some results. So Few and the Cursed, 80% of people said I would call it, so a lot of people called that one. And Frostpunk, almost the complete opposite, about 80% said I would keep it, nice job. Dark Souls, also pretty confident, about 75%, 3/4 of you who voted knew it was going. Star Trek Frontiers, a little bit less sure, 2/3 of you thought it would leave my collection. And FAZA, one of the highest numbers for the month, 90% of you sure it was leaving. Back to a bit of a mix again for the graphic novel adventures, 2/3. And here we hit our first result that surprised a lot of you. Sorry, I know Robinson Crusoe is a classic. I know that the new Kickstarter is doing gangbusters right now. Or not Kickstarter, GameFound, whatever it is. But only 31% of you called this one. Townsfolk Tussle, also a mix. I did enjoy this one a lot, but just not as much as Primal, so less than half of you called it. And I really surprised a lot of you with the Librarians, but I like that game a lot. It's a really, really solid kind of LCG model, so only 31% got this one right. Chronicles of Crime, also a mix, just 57% getting it right. And Endless Winter, I think probably a lot of people voted on the popularity of the game, not necessarily my preferences for Euros, so only 37% got it right. And then Dire Alliance, also not too confident of a result, 56% of you. So thanks to everybody who voted, but let's get to our actual winner. And for this month, we had a lot of great scores. Nobody got 12 for 12, but Matthew Powers and Patrick Jost both got 11 out of 12, both missing Townsfolk Tussle, the only one they got wrong. And why is Matthew on here twice? Because Matthew is a Patreon supporter. If you didn't know, Patreon supporters, one of the perks they get is double entries in our contest. So I'm going to roll a d6 and we'll see who it ends up with. So here we go. And we got a 2. Which means, Matthew Powers, congratulations, you are our winner for this month. I'll be emailing you soon to see which game you want from my collection. But thanks to everybody who entered, and we'll see you next month for more Shelf Life.